r/ask Reddit. What fact could probably save your life? You can call 911 even if you have no bars. The bars indicate signal from your carrier, but in an emergency, your phone uses any nearby cell towers even if you are not paying for the service from that particular service provider. Even old phones that haven't had service for years can call 911 if the battery has a charge. Yep, one of my kids has life-threatening food allergies. He has also always been very high energy, active, and loves being outside, so we extended his bike radius significantly before he was old enough to get a cell phone. We gave him an old phone to use in case he accidentally consumed one of his allergens while out with his friends. It had been out of service for years but was still able to contact 911. Which is all we needed it for, since you still need to go to the emergency room after using an EpiPen. He would charge it before going out to ride and called it his 911 phone. This was before middle school, so when his friends would complain to their parents that he has a phone and they don't, he would clarify that it's only to make sure he doesn't die. My kids are teens now with iPhones, but we still have the 911 phone in one of the kitchen drawers and it's fully charged. When my son accidentally broke his iPhone and needed to wait on a new one, he actually took the 911 phone out to go riding just in case, even though the rest of his friends have phones. For stab wounds, do not try to pull out a sharp object on your own, especially if there is no doctor nearby. This is what pisses me off so much in a lot of movies. They always pull it out. That's how you bleed to death, you idiot. In John Wick 2, he stabs someone in the heart and he actually tells him that the knife is in his aorta, so if he pulls it out, he will bleed out and die. Nice attention to detail. Sleep with the door closed. Fires while you sleep can leave your room almost completely untouched if closed. Today I learned fires are more polite than my parents were. I'm respecting your privacy by knocking but asserting my authority as your father by coming in anyway. Some winter advice: if you are homeless, or for whatever reason have to sleep outside, find something to put between you and the ground. Cardboard works great, but find something. All your energy will not warm the earth, and many people have frozen this way as the ground absorbs more and more energy. That's also great advice for wilderness survival. Also, here's another trick I learned from a beggar in Chicago when I went with my dad to a Chicago Bears game in the winter. Take newspaper and stuff your shoes full of it, crumpled up to create dead air pockets that will stay warm and act as insulation. Concrete is so incredibly cold to sleep on. You can feel it literally sucking away your heat even through layers of clothing. Recommendation for urban homeless folks: go to a local park and pull pine branches off the tress. Saplings, ferns and pine branches make excellent bedding. It will get you off the ground. It's easily interwoven and is super easy to get off the tree. You can have a nice thick bed set up in 20 minutes, especially with a good knife. Edit. It's pretty sad how many Redditors lack empathy and care more about manicured urban brush than they do about the life of a human being who struggles to survive every day. Yes, because of my one reply to a response on an internet thread, now the entire homeless population of the US is going to be chopping down all the pine trees. Give me a break. My advice comes from techniques I learned at USAF Survival School, not hokum. You don't need to chop down an entire tree. You can take the underlayer from a large fern and reuse the shrubs for days. If you're ever scuba diving and either run out of air or your regulator malfunctions and you have to surface immediately, remember to keep exhaling. That last lungful of air that you took at 30 feet, and under an extra atmosphere of pressure, will be expanding to twice the volume you inhaled by the time you're on the surface. So if you're not exhaling, your lungs might explode. That is an odd sensation if you've never done it. It feels less natural than sitting on the seafloor trying to pet fish. I like the sensation. It's cool to ascend and keep breathing out way more than you breathed in. At elevation, if your hair suddenly stands on end, duck and cover. Lightning is about to strike. Can't imagine how scary that must feel knowing you may be struck. A month ago I was hiking with my GF. It was drizzling and there was a thunderstorm somewhere in the distance, but we paid no heed. We reach the top, enjoy the scenery and start taking some photos only to realize that my GF's hair is full on standing up. In that instant I remembered that this is the biggest sign of a lightning strike and we got to a safer place immediately. It was a rush and I'm glad I knew the signs. Don't be silent for extended periods of time if you are hiking in the wilderness. Contrary to popular belief, bears would prefer to not get into confrontations and would most likely avoid you if you notify them of your presence in the area. With that said, if you do stumble across a bear, don't run away. Contrary to their size, bears are ducking fast. Grizzly bears are brown and have a trademark hump of muscle on their back. They are aggressive. Your best bet is to get into fetal position, covering neck and stomach, and play dead. They will only leave once they are absolutely sure the threat is gone. So don't stop playing dead even after you sense the bear leave. Black bears, contrary to their name, come in various colors, including brown. They are more slender than grizzly bears. Your best bet with a black bear is to be as aggressive as possible, making as much noise, looking as big as possible, throwing stones and large sticks, etc. Don't bother to climb a tree, since they are excellent climbers. In the event a bear starts attacking, go ham. Punch it, kick it, try to gouge out its eyes, etc. If you happen to be in the Arctic and stumble upon a polar bear, then pray to the Almighty that it hits one of your vital points and kills you quickly, because there is practically nothing you can do against them. They are much bigger than both black and grizzly bears, and do not fear humans. Bear is black, fight back. Bear is brown, lay down. Bear is white, good night. Black bears, contrary to their name, come in various colors, including brown. Thinking. If someone ever approaches you and tries to force you into a car, do whatever it takes to stay out of the vehicle. Your odds of ending up dead are largely increased if they manage to move you somewhere else. Fight to stay out of the vehicle like your life depends on it, because it probably does. Edit. My cousin is in law enforcement and always tells us if someone points a gun at you and tells you to get in the car, your odds of survival are actually higher if you risk taking the bullet. Now you ain't getting me to no secondary location. Street smarts. Most drunk driving deaths occur on Saturday night between 1 and 3 am. Avoid the roads during these times if you can help it. Well, that sucks cause I deliver pizzas in a college town and I usually close. Domino's closes at 3 am. Wanna thank everyone that told me stay safe. Shout out you guys. And thanks for the tips on how to stay safe as well. Godspeed my friend. How to recognize when someone is drowning. Silence. While someone who is shouting is on the verge of drowning and will likely need rescuing, it's the person thrashing about in the water not making any vocal sounds you need to worry about. When someone is actually drowning, their lungs are filling up with water inhibiting their inability to call for help. Wary face. Anyone who has long hair knows that when it gets wet and it sticks to your face, the immediate reaction is to swipe it away. Not for a drowning person when someone is actually drowning. All power is devoted to saving themselves. The issue of wet hair across the face is not a priority. Keep an eye out for someone in the water splashing about but not immediately reaching to remove their hair from out their eyes. All credit goes to the Stuff You Should Know podcast. Also, if you need to save someone without the aid of a flotation device, only if absolutely necessary, please don't do this if at all possible. Come from behind them and put your arms under their armpits. Less chance of them shoving you under or hitting you in the face. Also, a drowning person reaches out in front of themselves as if to push down on the water. They're not waving. If you ever fall off a ship ferry at sea and were lucky enough to be spotted, don't try to swim your way to safety. The more you try to swim, the lesser the chances of survival. Just try to keep afloat and conserve energy while rescue team do what they're supposed to, unless you are in hypothermic waters. The best bet always is to stay afloat without trying to swim to somewhere. Edit. This comment and also several others answers of mine later in this thread about falling overboard, hypothermia and conditions. Survival at sea etc are based on my own experience of 12 sailing on merchant ship like this. https://yauto BVQZ7WKS6 is for, as I haven't sailed on military ships. I can't really comment about those. What if you're in hypothermic waters? You dead. If someone points a gun at you, maintain eye contact with the person. Eye contact makes it harder to pull the trigger. I was taught as a youngin that in really any physical conflict to keep eye contact and don't say much. Don't talk shit back. Just stare like a duck in Psycho. has kept me from getting my ass whooped about a million times. I learned this playing basketball in high school. The opposing team's star player nearly quit the game because of it. We were playing the school that had one of those superstar players. Their strategy was just to give her the ball as much as possible and keep us away from her. I was a third string player. My ball handling skills left much to be desired. We were a small school. It didn't take much to make the team. I don't even know why the coach put me in. He must have made some comments to me about trying to cover star player. I was decent at moving around and figured this was a way I could help without fumbling over my own fingers. I decided I would get right up in this girl's face and stare as intensely as possible into her eyes, purely to freak her out, which I did. Our eyeballs were probably 4 inches apart for the entire game. I didn't even try to touch the ball. I just stared at her, unbroken, utterly psychotic. By halftime, she was on the verge of tears. Her coach came to talk to my coach about calling me off. My coach demurred. I kept waiting to be benched again. Since I rarely played more than 10-15 minutes per game, he kept me on until the end. I stared into the whites of this girl's eyes for the entire game, consciously kept my face devoid of any expression. Her team eventually reverted to handling the ball without her. My mother was in the stands and was fairly disturbed by the whole ordeal. I read this one somewhere here on Reddit and it actually saved my life 2 weeks ago. If you wake up in the middle of the night or come back home to the smell of gas filling the house, never turn on the lights. Any spark from the light switch could blow up the entire house. Thank you stranger for this LPT. Edit. Typo. What does gas even smell like? Edit. RIP my inbox. Often there is an additive that makes it smell like rotten eggs. Horrendous smell, and you will know it immediately. Bleach and ammonia make poison gas. The general form of this is to read labels of cleaning products. Don't mix them, and follow the warnings for using adequate ventilation and protective gear. My mom asked me about putting bleach and ammonia around the house to try getting rid of flies. Me. Not unless you want to kill us all. She claimed she said bleach or ammonia, but I still tease her about it from time to time. Edit. Yeez, this blew up overnight and I woke up to a shitload of replies. This actually happened a week or so ago, so that's what I meant, not the other day. That a wagging tail does not always mean that the dog is friendly. Maybe he's just really excited he gets to rip your guts out. D. I'm seeing a lot of facts that would save your life in exciting outdoor situations. These probably won't save your life, because you are most likely a 20-something college student who spends their free time watching Netflix and periodically refreshing Reddit at home. Let's face it, you're unlikely to end up shipwrecked, stabbed, kidnapped, attacked by a bear / submerged in a car / fighting a crocodile. As a primary care doctor, let me tell you one that could actually save your life as an introverted Redditor. Exercising 150 minutes per week has been shown to have a ridiculous number of benefits, including not dying. https://www.thelancet.com journal's Lancet article PI 0140-6736 17 31634-3/full text, as well as making you more intelligent, happy, and attractive. However, most people don't do the recommended amount. Cardiovascular disease, heart attacks and strokes, is still the most common cause of death, and atherosclerosis starts in your late teens. Exercise helps prevent atherosclerotic plaques from forming by regulating blood pressure and cholesterol levels. Aim for 150 minutes per week of any kind of exercise you like. 75 minutes of it's vigorous. Exercise is the miracle drug. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, walking does count as exercise. See the American Heart Association guide for more info. Edit 2. I'd say a physically active job counts as exercise too, so long as you are really exerting yourself. Edit 3. A lot of people wonder if they are doomed for life because of their unhealthy past. Don't worry, plaques can shrink and disappear through intensive lifestyle change. It's not all irreversible change. Edit 4. A lot of questions about whether more than 150 minutes per week is better, or if too much is bad. 150 minutes is an easily achievable level that gives you most of the benefits, but more exercise is even better. To be precise, here's some numbers from this study. No exercise. Baseline some exercise but less than minimum amount. 150 minutes. 20% lower mortality. 1-2x minimum. 31% lower mortality. 2-3x minimum. 37% lower mortality. 3-5x minimum. 39% lower mortality. After this, no extra benefit up to 10x. You just get the same benefits as someone doing 5x. Although it's not harmful either. Get out of here with your realistic, helpful advice that actually applies to most everyone reading this. Okay, but if all this exercising causes me to be attacked by a bear, I will be pissed off at you. Women do not experience the same side effects of a heart attack as men do, and men's symptoms are what people generally look for. Make sure you're familiar with them. AG, angina, breathlessness, chronic fatigue, dizziness, edema, fast heart rate, gastric upset. If you have a grease fire, put it out with baking soda, not water. Edit. A lot of people saying things about flour, so I thought I should add information. Flour is combustible and not safe to use. Some people have commented that they have put out fires with flour, and it is possible. If you take the bag, flip it all out at once as close to the pot as you can, I'm sure it would be successful at smothering it. Due to its combustible nature though, nearly anything would be better to use. Salt, kitty litter, sand, dirt. If for some reason you had to use flour, don't pour it out incrementally and don't pour it out in a way that will create a dust cloud. Pour it out so it falls together and quickly. Also, the best thing to use is of course a ABC fire extinguisher. This advice is in lieu of that, or if it's too far away, putting the lid will also work fine if the fire is small enough. You don't want to put a lid on a huge fire though, or you can create a backdraft of sorts in the pan and it'll flare up when you open it. And if that grease fire is in a pan, cover it with the lid. If you hit your head really hard and get unusually sleepy within 6 hours afterwards, go get a scan. Edit. From the comments, it seems like a lot of people are really in the dark about this. It's not about concussion. It's about hitting your head so hard that you get internal bleeding in your skull, which will clot, after which you will die. So stop commenting about how you got your bell rung playing football and slept it off. That's an entirely different thing. I got a concussion and it took me 3 weeks to get diagnosed because I didn't push my doctor when he told me I was fine. Then I was extremely light sound sensitive. Looking at something in the shade at 5 PM felt like looking straight at a light bulb. And I got a horrible headache for 7 days straight. I also would randomly pass out. Like if I sat down, I'd be out like a light. And by 1-2 PM I'd be slurring my words and acting drunk. Finally went to another doctor and he imminently told me to get an MRI. I could have had bleeding in my brain, but thankfully, I only had a really bad concussion. Damaged the front of my brain and my brain stem. Took me 5 months to get to the point where I could function, and I'm still dealing with it now. Got my concussion on the 14th of January, 2018. If you hit your head and later feel like something is off, go to a doctor ASAP. If there's heavy bleeding or a partial full amputation, throw a ducking tourniquet on that limb as close to the torso as you can. Write the time on their forehead and do not ever loosen it. Everything you've been taught about tourniquets is wrong. They can be on for 6 hours with no worry of nerve damage. The limb will not need to be amputated. I say again, the placement of a CAT will not decide amputation. Crank that shit harder than you think necessary and then let the doctor deal with it. Edit. Man, this kind of blew up. Many people are asking why you place it as close to the torso as possible. 1. Major arteries are closer to the skin near the torso, giving you a better chance of clamping them. 2. It will stop any secondary wounds you potentially missed. 3. My training was for combat trauma triage first. I then got civilian training later. I was never a practicing civilian EMT. If a paramedic has better info, please PM me any inconsistencies and I'll correct them. 4. It looks like there's many different standards for potential nerve damage time limits. The lowest I've seen is 3 from someone claiming to work in orthopedic surgery. Either way, having a derpy limb is better than no limb. Even if it will be over 6 hours, the potential loss of a limb is still far better than bleeding out. True story, I'd rather not have a limb than a life. Purple flags at the beach mean dangerous sea life in the area. Most people understand the other flags, but purple can be confusing. Whoa, You made it to the end, you're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.